Oh, no way! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me?
You will rarely see Super Grandmasters play blunders this spectacular. So when the world champion Magnus Carlsen does it, that's what sends the commentators and the chat absolutely bonkers, as we saw just there. So this game was played in the Speed Chess Championship a couple months back, and to really appreciate the scale of this blunder, we've got to see the build-up moves here, and then we'll get a replay again of that reaction. So Magnus with white, he kicks off here with pawn to d4. Now both players, by the way, 3 minutes on the clock, plus they get 1 second to move. That's known as increment. Now Hikaru goes knight to f6, c4, e6, and now we don't see knight c3 because very often black goes bishop b4. It's the mainline Nimzo-Indian, and often the top players, they like to avoid this. So we see knight f3 from Carlsen, and if you go b6, well, we're back in the Queen's Indian stuff. But d5, that's the main move, back in the Queen's Gambit. Now there are all sorts of moves here, but Carlsen goes for g3. This is the Catalan, you know, you get lots of transposition of openings. Now we see bishop e7 from Hikaru, bishop g2. Magnus loves to play this one. Great success against Nepo in their World Championship match. Castles from both players, and now captures on c4. And I always think this move looks kind of counterintuitive. Why would you open up this diagonal? But black has a few ideas to neutralize this bishop. So after queen c2 to win back the pawn, well, this is one of the ideas. You go pawn to a6, and if white immediately grabs, well, you can go b5, the queen goes, and you also get your bishop onto the long diagonal. And there's been loads of games from here. But Magnus, he goes for pawn to a4, so he stops the b5 stuff. But that's why Hikaru now switches to this bishop d7 idea. So after the queen captures, he hits the diagonal from this square. Now lots of moves for white here. You can go knight to e5, you can go rook to d1, but here we see Magnus going with this bishop to f4, he's just delaying the development of this knight, and now Hikaru goes pawn to a5, and this might look a bit weird to move that same pawn for a second time, but it clamps on b4 as I'm highlighting, the square that white weakened when they went a4, and it prepares to develop the knight. So after knight c3 from Carlsen, now we get knight to a6, eyeing this square. Knight e5 played, these bishops get swapped off, king recaptures, and c6, tidy move, reinforces the control of this square, also stops any knight jumps into b5. And now e4 from Carlsen is followed by knight to b4, and it's a good moment to briefly pause, because white's always a bit better in these positions, small edge when you run it with the computer, primarily because they've got the centre. Two central pawns, black's got none, at least not any advanced pawns. That takes away squares from the black pieces and also gives the white pieces space to manoeuvre. Rook a d1 now brings the rook behind this sensitive pawn. Queen b6 activates, comes off the line of the rook, and now a lovely remaneuver from Carlsen. He goes queen to e2, so he's preparing to bring a knight to c4 one day, and he also now overprotects this pawn, looks in this direction, overprotects here, really flexible move. And now Hikaru brings a rook to the d file, and we see pawn h4 gaining some space, classic idea, also secures this bishop a bit more on f4. And now queen a6 from Hikaru, so he doesn't like the way this queen is sat, just influencing the whole board. He wants to swap off. Magnus obliges, this is the best move. The knight recaptures. This knight now hits c4, pressures the a-pawn. The bishop defends. And now because it also attacks this knight on c3, it means there's a threat to eliminate, and then this knight chop the e4 pawn. But don't go e5 to react to that threat. This would be a positional mistake because you let the knight into d5, and that's premature. So what does Carlsen do? He defends the pawn. Here Hikaru goes knight h5, hits this bishop, and this is where the truly spectacular blunder happens. But just before I show it, if you're enjoying this one, do hit that like button, really helps me out. And if you want to subscribe and never miss a future video, well, that's even more amazing, so thank you very much. Here Carlsen, he doesn't retreat his bishop, which he should do. He goes bishop to c7, the commentator's curse, because Robert Hess actually called this move as well. He had eyes on this pawn. Idea being that after the rook moves, well, you can pick up a pawn. But what they'd both completely forgotten about is knight takes on c7. And this was the reaction.
Oh, no way! Oh my gosh! That is the ultimate commentator's curse.
Just so uncharacteristic of Magnus. And just before you go, if you can indulge me 21 seconds, I have a question for you if you're trying to improve your chess. Is this you toiling away, trying to improve your chess? If so, you need AIMCHESS in your life. They'll take your recent game data from Lichess, chess.com, bring in personalised lessons and skyrocket your rating. Use the link down below, try it for free, and code EPIC at checkout will get you discount if you do want a premium plan. And if you love videos like this, then you've got to check out this one on screen next. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.